A new report is uncovering an alleged assassination attempt of a Sikh separatist on American soil. The Financial Times says the U.S. issued a warning to India over concerns its government is involved. As we mentioned, this comes just 2 months after Justin Trudeau linked India to the killing of a pro-Khalistan activist in BC. Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs commented on the news earlier.
We respect the American legal system. We respect also the work of their law enforcement agencies on our side. What we expect from India is full cooperation in the investigation that our own law enforcement agencies are undertaking, and I'll continue to engage with my Indian counterpart on different diplomatic issues.
And for more on this, we're joined by Dimitri Sevastopoulos. He is the U.S.-China correspondent for the Financial Times. He first reported this news, and we've reached him in Washington tonight. Good to speak with you.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you.
So, yeah, what more can you tell us about this thwarted plot and the target?
Well, the target is another Sikh separatist whose name is Panun. He's quite well known within Sikh circles in the U.S. He's actually a dual American-Canadian citizen. Was an Indian citizen by birth, but is no longer. He actually told me yesterday that he wouldn't say whether the Americans had warned him about the threat, but we have talked to people who said that the threat was taken so seriously that actually Joe Biden raised concerns with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G20 in New Delhi in September. And in the same meeting, as we've previously reported, Biden also raised the allegations that Justin Trudeau made in the House of Commons in September. So this issue is really becoming, coming to the forefront of US-India relations and obviously Canada-India relations.
Dimitri, let me just make sure I understand the timing of this. When did all this play out? You're talking about September, so this is months and months ago?
So we don't actually know exactly when the plot was supposed to take place. What we do know is that at some point after Modi visited Washington in June for a state visit, at some point after that and before Trudeau made the allegations public in September, in that interim period, the US discovered what they thought was potential evidence that India was involved in this plot in the US. And they went to the Indians on more than one occasion, culminating with the Biden conversation with Modi. But we don't actually know when the plot was going to occur. We don't know if the Indians told a team to back off or whether the FBI intervened and thwarted a plot that was already in motion. I think that's, there's some of the big questions that still remain to be answered.
Can you tell me a little more about your conversation with the target here? What else he told you?
Well, I think he was being very cautious. Again, he wouldn't tell me if the Americans had warned him about the potential threat to his life, but clearly he's a very active person in the separatist movement. He's wanted by India, who has deemed him a terrorist. I think he's probably concerned for his life, given what happened to Mr. Nijjar in Vancouver. And he said that, this is evidence that the Indian authorities are trying to basically target Sikhs or Sikh separatists who are pushing for the Khalistan state in India, outside of India, with these extrajudicial, activities, if they turn out that's what they actually were.
I mean, that's what I was getting at is what's his level of concern given what happened to Mr. Nijjar, the fact that he was killed?
It's difficult to say because, again, he won't tell me if he was informed of the threat. So it's hard for me to gauge that. But I think it's, an average person, if they're that high profile within that movement and they see that someone has been killed in Vancouver, it's only natural that they would at least be thinking about this. And I think if he wasn't concerned before, now that he's seen our story and he's seen that the White House confirmed that they have, or that they're taking this issue very seriously and that it was raised with the Indians, I assume that he's paying a lot of attention to what's happening.
Given what has happened in British Columbia and really throughout the country in Canada, you can understand our interest here. And I'm wondering what has played out recently between Canada and India. What does that tell you about the current US-India relations?
Well, I think one of the interesting things is, as your viewers will know very well, the Indians rejected the Canadian allegations and said they were absurd and have said things like it's not consistent with our policy. Now, today, the Indians didn't comment for our story, but after we published and after the White House said they had concerns, the Indians came out and they tried to distance themselves. They said that the US had raised concerns about the nexus between organized criminals, gun runners, terrorists, and others. But that's not actually what the Americans raised concerns about. So it feels like the Indians are a little bit more concerned that the Americans are expressing these worries than they were about Justin Trudeau. And that probably speaks to their concern about the relationship with America and their relationship with Ottawa.
Dimitri Sevastopoulos is the U.S.-China correspondent for the Financial Times, first reporting this news, and really appreciate you taking the time to discuss it with us tonight.
Thank you.